the millennium of telling these stories and reading these stories and sharing these stories, I think we have come to realize that we all hear the scriptures through different lenses. And there are so many ways to read scripture. Of course, we want to read scripture through the lens of faith. English majors want to read it as literature. Psychologists read it as sociology. Historians read it as history. Most scientists don't read it as science. But there are other lenses through which we hear these stories. That story from the Hebrew Scriptures, imagine listening to that as someone who is on a journey. How do you hear the story of the Hebrews wandering hungry in the desert? Or imagine hearing that story if you are hungry, physically, literally hungry. How do you hear that story? Or if you are spiritually hungry, wondering, discerning. Now, a psychologist or sociologist has pointed out that the stories from, particularly the Hebrew Scriptures, can be read as stories about humanity and our own condition. And if you were to guess what stage of life the wandering Hebrews are in that story, what age are they? Complaining about what they have and what they don't? Not children. Children, yes, they're demanding, but it's more than that. Adolescent. I think it's teen. I mean, I hear when my daughters were teens saying, "Why have you brought me here where it was so much better back where we were before?" Right? Never mind that they were slaves. They had freedom, and now they were slaves, and now they have freedom. They're hungry. And then, miraculously, God provides not a full-cooked meal, which is maybe what they were hoping for, but the materials to feed themselves. And they look at the bread, what's this? We don't always ask for what we really need, and we don't always recognize it when it's given to us. And I would argue that Jesus is also kind of in his teen years, at least in John's gospel, the way that John presents Jesus. We just had this amazing story of all these people fed with baskets left over. And Jesus seems to be in a little bit of a fit. Why are you following me? As if I'm just performing magic tricks for you. Remember, it was Jesus' idea to feed all those people. Jesus realizes what he really wants us to know is that God provides what we need, and it's not just food, but spiritual food. It's not just physical life, but real, abundant life. And so Jesus kind of snaps back at them. Remember, it isn't Moses that fed the Israelites in the wilderness. It isn't even I who fed you just now and those 5,000 people. It is God who feeds us. And God feeds us with the things that God has already given us. Jesus didn't come to do magic tricks to be admired. And he did care that people were physically hungry. He also knew that their hunger was deeper than that. And they also needed to be fed with justice. Did any of you get tickets to the community farm to table event that's happening around here? No one?
I'm in the lottery.
Yes, I heard you had to be online immediately to pay $150 to eat in the street. But for a great cause, right? I wish I had been online fast enough to get a ticket. And you could have even spent even more to get 8 tickets and some wine. Great idea. What a way to celebrate this community and to raise money for others. Is anyone on the board of any, do you know any of those organizations? Is this, yeah? Excellent idea. Once upon a time, Jesus came to Penyan, and it was sometime in October, and you all said, "Hey, Jesus, you know how you fed lots of people? You should have been here in September. We had this great event. All this food, this healthy food, this amazingly cooked food, and all raised money for the food pantries and for good causes in the area." And Jesus said, "Gosh, I'm disappointed that I missed that. Why don't you do it again?" And so the vestry said, "Okay, Jesus, well, how are we going to do it? We're just a small group of people." And Jesus said, "Invite everyone to come. Charge nothing." And so the people of St. Mark's spread some tables with tablecloths. They put a note in the newspaper, on Facebook, and people showed up. And people donated the food that was to be eaten. And there were no tickets. Everyone was welcome. And after the last crumb had been licked from the plates, you all said, "Okay, Jesus, that was great, but now we don't have any money to donate to these great programs. Like, everyone had a great time." And Jesus said, "Oh, do you need to?" And they began to talk to the people who had shown up to the dinner. And about half of them had connected with someone who'd found them a job. And another group had been store owners and factory owners and farmers in the area. And they realized sitting at that table that they needed to raise the wages of their workers. And some really wealthy person from far away read about it on Facebook and voluntarily raised their own taxes so that Social Security income could go up for everyone in Penyan. Once upon a time, Jesus offered us real bread, real life, food that feeds us for the day and for a lifetime. Real life, held on to, lived abundantly, shared with the whole world.